What is going on with SwftCoin? SwftCoin almost doubled in the last 24 hours, and the question is why? Who's buying here? Who's selling here? Let's have a look at the on-chain metrics. Let's try to find out whether or not it still makes sense to buy into this rally. Now we're currently at 2.3 cents. We are up 82% today, 230% this week, but things haven't always been rosy. The token at one point listed for 8 cents to then get absolutely crushed in value. Now what happened here? Have a look at this price development and compare this with the market cap development. The market cap is at all-time highs. The price definitely isn't. And the reason for this difference is token inflation. So over time, more and more tokens hit the market. And because of that additional supply, which was not met with adequate demand, the price tended to trend downwards. Now there are two versions of the token. There's one on the Binance Smart Chain with only 2,700 holders. And there's another version on Ethereum with 30,000 holders. On the Ethereum chain, we've got roughly $1 million worth of liquidity. And because of that comparatively little liquidity, we see a lot of price fluctuation. So this means there are some arbitrage bots that tend to buy and sell using the centralized exchanges and then normalize the price on chain again. That's why we see those kind of spikes. Because most trading volume actually happens not on chain, it happens on Coinbase, 80% to be more exact. On top of that, we've also got perpetual futures. Those are dominated by MEXC. Now, isn't that interesting? We've got roughly 30,000 holders on the Ethereum chain, but we've got even more than that in terms of followers on Twitter. There are 77,000 followers on X. Now, is this very organic? Probably not, because the account itself is also following 37. So it seems like the account followed a bunch of crypto people to then get followed back. This doesn't really look that organic. On Telegram, we've got a bit under 12,000 members. And in Discord, we've got 1,000 members with only 40 being online. So things already look a little bit off, but let's have a deeper look at those 30,000 holders on chain. What we've got over here is the number of retail investors versus whale investors. So on the left side, we see the number of wallets that have at least 35,000 tokens. So at the current price, that's equal to roughly $1,000 worth of the token. For the chart in the middle, we go another 10x in minimum holding. So that's now $10,000. On the right, another 10x, so $100,000. We can see how small retail tends to long-term accumulate. We can see how the larger wallets accumulate slower. There was the initial launch, then the subsequent dump. And since the middle of 2020, we tend to see more accumulation. And so those people that bought early are now roughly 20x in profit. We can clearly see how attention comes in waves. On the left side, we see the number of buyers and sellers per day. And on the right side, that's normalized to 100%. Most days there are more buyers than sellers. And of course, whenever there's a spike in buyers and sellers, there's more attention, there's more trading volume, and that tends to correlate with higher prices as well. We are now again quite active in trading volume, comparatively speaking. Now, here's the problem. Here is why most people get wrecked during times like this when everything is going down. The issue is most people only have a strategy for rising prices. When there's a bull market, the strategy tends to be, I'm just buying the trending altcoin and trying to make as much money from those rising trending altcoins as possible. But then the issue is, what happens when things turn around? What's really the strategy if we enter into a bear market? The problem is most people don't have a strategy and they simply just cling onto their altcoins, getting wrecked in the process. There's no real objectivity in the process. It's really important to have some kind of a plan, what to do and where to deploy the capital if things are not bullish, because there are ways to make money in bear markets. When Bitcoin is expensive, when stocks are expensive, when everything is expensive, there's, for example, the option to buy gold, right? After the .com bubble, gold outperformed regular stocks by almost 800%. So this is a gold relative to the S&P 500 chart. This is actually not what we associate with gold, right? With gold, we associate very low volatility, a very boring investment to just park the money to potentially protect against inflation. But it's not necessarily seen as an asset that can outperform during a bear market. But obviously, this relative valuation does matter. It's quite a bit of a move. And so if you're not too much invested emotionally, then you can potentially, when times are right, move into assets like this. Now this is a very uncommon chart, right? Most people have never looked at gold relative to stocks. People just look at US dollar charts, and this is the problem. It's knowledge like this that I believe can give us a real market edge, because the US dollar is obviously devaluing over time, so everything tends to go up over time. But again, it's all about opportunity cost. And so have a look at this. This is a technical analysis course, and over here is one of the videos plotting relative valuation charts. In total, there are 26 videos in this course. And relative valuation charts are useful in all kinds of contexts, right? It's useful to compare gold to the S&P 500. It's also useful to compare an altcoin relative to Bitcoin. It's also useful to compare, say, an asset relative to the money supply to see, does this asset long-term actually outperform monetary expansion? But then there are also other strategies, right? Because most altcoins underperform Bitcoin most of the time. I believe that the bear markets are actually better opportunities to make money than bull markets. In bull markets, we have to find the precise few altcoins that concentrate all of the gains, and we have to exit quickly enough. In bear markets, actually in general, but especially in bear markets, most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin anyways. So we can simply bet on relative valuations going down. We can bet on an altcoin to do worse than Bitcoin. We are not betting on the US dollar price going down. We're just betting on the altcoin doing worse compared to Bitcoin. So for example, this is a position I had open for a long time. This is Balancer, so the Balancer token, that's a DeFi project relative to Bitcoin. And this underperformed very constantly under low volatility, by now 98%. And that's, I believe, a very nice approach, right? Why does Balancer underperform that constantly? It's again what we see time and time again, right? It's token allocations to the insiders and to the team and to venture capitalists and maybe to users of the platform. So supply is growing and growing and growing. The demand isn't growing as quickly, and thus we see that underperformance. Now it's important that this is relative valuations, that this is not just US dollar valuations, because the US dollar valuation of an altcoin, even during a bear market when we see a temporary rally, can of course go up, right? When Bitcoin goes up by 30%, then temporarily an altcoin can also go up by 20%, even if the supply expands. That's why the relative valuation makes so much sense. Because check this out, this is now Balancer relative to Bitcoin since 2023, and here is Balancer in US dollars since 2023. This is much more risky, right? This can go up by 100% if you time this not the right way. So I'm not saying that most altcoins go down all the time. I'm saying that most altcoins underperform Bitcoin most of the time. And so shorting altcoins is a pretty nice way to make money during a bear market as well. So we don't have to cling on that strategy to always buy the meme coins, and then when the market turns around, we keep on holding because we hope just that it continues a bit further. We can be objective about it because we also know a strategy to make money during bearish times. And so here's one of the explainer tutorials gaining from relative valuations, how to short Balancer and potentially long other assets at the same time. This is one of, I believe, 5 different videos on shorting. How can we select an asset that's worth shorting? What kind of parameters do we have to look at? How can we also then set up that short, right? What are the technical requirements? What platforms should we use? And all of that is part of the premium membership of this channel. There's more than 100 tutorial videos in total. Feel free to check it out. Of course, I'm also sharing my own trades in premium. So I've just closed my short of Ethereum relative to Bitcoin. I made some money with that as well. And when times turn bullish again, then of course it does also make sense to buy individual alts again. That's why we've got the individual chats on various altcoins as well. But again, right now it might make in some ways more sense to learn about strategies that are not that common, that can make us money while most other people don't make money. So feel free to check it out. It's currently $165 per month. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, in case you don't learn anything, just message me within the first 7 days and I'll refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. Now, does it still make sense after this rally and after the price almost doubled in the last 24 hours to still buy SwftCoin? Let's have a look at what happened in the last month. So again, a quick recap. We are currently at 2.3 cents and the price appreciated quite constantly, but it especially accelerated around the 17th 18th of January. What we've got over here is the number of new users versus returning users per day. So on the left side, that's just the absolute number. On the right side, again, normalized to 100% for each day. And we can see how the activity is growing since the 18th of January. And it seems to still be growing. We can ignore the latest data point because today isn't yet over. There is the possibility that we even see another all-time high in the number of new users today. We can also see how the ratio of new users versus returning users per day tended to improve in the last month. But yeah, we talked about this at the beginning of the video already, right? It seems like the social media metrics are somewhat manipulated, and it seems like the on-chain metrics are manipulated as well. Because again, let's have a look at the number of small retail investors versus medium-sized versus large. There is some interesting data jump happening here for the smaller wallets. It doesn't happen for the whales, but for the smaller wallets, for whatever reason, from 1 hour to the next, that went down by roughly 10%. So what happened here? Why did the number of small retail investors suddenly drop that much and nothing happened to the whale investors? Is this all 100% organic? I'm not sure. This is a token that's quite easy to manipulate because it's got a market cap of less than 100 million. And again, the liquidity on chain is only roughly 1 million. And so I prefer tokens where we see actual organic growth, right? As we saw, for example, in the early hours of the Trump token, we saw how more and more people bought into the token that then appreciated the price until, of course, the market was saturated and we saw some deleveraging. But when we've got ownership by many people that enter a token, things tend to be more stable than when everything is just owned by a few whales or when the numbers are even manipulated. And so I'm not buying SwftCoin. Of course, the manipulation could last longer. If you decide to buy, or if you already own some tokens, then at least make sure to have some kind of a stop loss, potentially even a trailing stop loss, right? As the price rises, you can automatically adjust that stop loss. And then once the rally stops, then you automatically sell and lock in the profits. If you got some value out of this video, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you in the next video or see you in premium. Cheers.